There's so much violence on our planet, and there was violence in my heart when I went to Biloxi to find my father.
We know, but you see, there's a big difference between the Henri disc and the disc of despair and the disc of revenge. There's a big difference between that and that high-flying disc. We're not even comparing apples and oranges. And of course, it would be far better. We would rather see you in rage and revenge than in despair. We would rather you feeling revenge and rage than guilt. But we would far rather that you feel overwhelmment than rage, and hope than overwhelmment, and love than hope. In other words, there's always an improvement in the vibration. And that really is what we are all about. Source is, through all of you, finding higher and higher frequencies. The stakes are becoming more satisfying to all of us, you see. The misconception is that Source has got it all figured out, and that's finished and perfect, and that humans are still vying for that understanding. Where what's really going on is Source is expanding into greater capacities of love through that which you are living. And when large segments of your population are in abject hatred, you are launching rockets of desire that the Source within you joins. And the love in the non-physical becomes greater because of the hate that you lived. That's that expansion that we're talking about. But it doesn't do anybody any good if somebody doesn't line up with it. And Source never lowers, in other words, this high-flying disc that we're talking about. Esther plays with us because sometimes she'll say, Abraham, I'm not in such a good mood, and I think you should come down and play with me. Because I know that this negative emotion that I'm feeling is because you're there and I'm here. And if you'd come down where I am, then I wouldn't feel the separation. And we say, we're not coming. You got to come up. You got to come up.
But doesn't all of humanity have to come up?
Yeah,
I mean,
and it all does when you make your reemergence. And like you, we agree. We don't think you should have to croak to be happy. Right. We think you should be able to train yourself into vibrational alignment.
But can one of us or two of us or a handful of us who are living as close to this Source energy, from a place of divine love,
Of course, but
can't we impact like millions of people?
You can, because one who's connected to this energy is more powerful than millions who aren't. But the thing that is interesting, your mother couldn't get your attention. You see what we're getting at? In other words, there she is, pure positive energy,
right,
focused on you all day, every day.
Right.
And you had to be in the right frequency in order to hear her. And so that's the way it is with Source. Source is in that high frequency, but you got to be in the vicinity in order to feel it. And until you've felt it, you can't know it. You can't get it from our words. No one can get it from your words. No, nothing can replace that releasing of resistance that happened to you at that gravesite that day. There just aren't enough words in the world to explain what happened. But you experienced the releasing of resistance and the aligning with Source energy and with your Father in that moment, you see.
It's been my teaching mission almost to encourage people to, you call it contrast, but to rid ourselves. I mean, it was an act of forgiveness, if you will, that totally transformed my entire life and affected millions.
We know,
and millions
but what
of
took
people.
you so long to get there? In other words, that's what's happening to everyone.
Yeah.
They would feel better if they would think thoughts that feel better.
Right.
But there's this thing you've been taught that Esther said to us, but Abraham, it's true. It's true. Therefore, shouldn't I think about it? This happened to me. This is a true thing. And we said to her many times, there are many things that are true that feel good when you focus upon them. And there are many things that are true that feel horrible when you focus upon them. We would be selective, because when you focus upon the things that feel horrible, you're out there on the raw and ragged edge without your Source. Now, not really without your Source, because Source never stops perceiving life through you. But you've got yourself pinched off so that you don't recognize it, you see.
Can't someone who's living closer to Source energy, impact, like in a family or in a community, or
certainly.
Isn't that what Abraham is doing?
Certainly.
Is that what you are doing? I'm sorry.
Certainly, but they have to be ready. They have to be in the vicinity. You can't set your radio dial on 98 and hear what's being broadcast on 101. The frequencies have to match up. And what happens with people is then they become self-degrading. In other words, they beat up on themselves when things aren't going well, and we just want them to understand it was a vibrational choice that they have some control over if they will try a little bit. That's why we're so excited about talking you into, first thing in the morning, just finding some general thought that feels good and try to stay there until some momentum gets going. And show yourself how this day is different because you did that. And after 30 days of doing that, you'll know what we're talking about.